My granddad was sent on leave for D-Day. And I know that sounds like an odd thing to put out because most people either celebrate the victory or commemorate those that have been lost during it, as much as we should also be commemorating, obviously, those that came home alive too, because that was a terrible price that the men paid who went there, and the ladies and the nurses who were trying to patch them up when they came back on the other side. That was just horrific. But he was the inspiration for me becoming a diesel mechanic, a truck mechanic. And so I thought I'd tell the story of an old mechanic and an old driver, because I think he had something that maybe we all should have. And that's assuming that I can keep this lump out of my throat while I'm talking about it. Because he was a good man, he was a kind man, a strong man, a faithful man. So what happened then? My granddad was a driver in the army. He used to drive around the colonels and the generals, and basically he was, wherever that they wanted to go, he would drive them. That was part of his duties. I also had stories of him being a soldier as well, being on guard in certain places. Apparently he killed a German hedgehog. That's an odd story in itself. Save that for another day. But as general rules, what he did was he was driving around vehicles all the time, and he was driving the top brass to where they needed to go. He was one of their trusted drivers, apparently. Now, he never talked about this at all. He told all sorts of stories, but just before he died, or not long before he died, he told me the story. And I thought, that's an odd thing to say. Even my mum and dad went, no idea where that goes, never heard it before. So he was on the army base, and there was lots of things going on. There was lots of Americans were coming in, lots of gear was coming in, lots of troops were being called in, leave was being cancelled. There was nobody knew what was going on, and he didn't really know what was going on either. They just knew that something big was happening. Anyway, he took one of the generals to the army base. He was one of the regular people that he used to drive around. And when he got there, the general said to him, "Private, you need to go on some leave." My granddad looked around. He said, I could see something was going on, but he said, "Look, I'm happy to help. Looks like you need some help." And he said, "No, you're going to take some leave. It's well-deserved leave, and we're not leaving this site for several days. So you're not needed around here." Grandad still protested and said, "No, I want to be here. I want to help out. There's something going on." And he said, "You do not want to be part of this. This is not something that I want you to be part of, or you'll want to be part of. Go home and see your wife." That's what he was told. So he did. He went to his little village in the middle of nowhere in the UK, and he spent some time with his wife, his much deserved time with his wife. He had no idea the sacrifice that was being made. The top brass knew what was going on, and they knew how bad it was going to be, and they didn't want to be part of it. And I'm grateful for that, because I may not have had my granddad if he'd have gone. He may not have been the man that he was. He was kind and friendly. I said he was strong, but he had a sense of humour around him. Little things would set him off, and he would go bright red in the face just because he was funny, and he would find the funny side in a lot of things. He was strict at times too. My mum and dad said that he was really strict when he was younger, and then not so strict with us. But he always had a smile on his face, and he was always telling jokes. I know that this is a day after, and there's a lot of corporate places that put out all sorts of stuff, lest we forget, and we want to remember the boys, and I think that's important that we do. I think it's important that we remember and commemorate the sacrifice that people made in the name of the countries. But I don't think, for a lot of them, they do it because it's the corporate thing to do, not necessarily because they actually have anything in it. The same as all the other things they just post about. We support this group and that group and this, and I don't think it's always necessary that they are interested. So I thought I'd tell this because it's personal to me. He was somebody that got me into truck. He got me into truck mechanics. He got me into truck driving. It was when I got a job not far from him, and I used to take the big trucks over for him to see, and I took him for a ride in a couple, and he was just amazed of how much different they were and how much bigger they were, because his truck at the time was sort of almost the same size as some of our utes here today. But what I just wanted to say is I appreciate everything that people have done for us. And I think we should remember what people have done in the past in the name of the country and in the name of freedom, because that's what it was billed to be. Now, I know that there's a lot of people, powerful people, that have got other ideas, and some of them spend time and money trying to convince people, to divide people, to separate people, to actually get it so that people will fight another set of people. But from what my granddad said, he used to say that most of those people, they were no different to you and me. He said that he was obviously a farm guy. He was a farmer boy, lived in the middle of the country. You know, those days they didn't really travel very far from the villages that they were within. They didn't go very far. So he had no idea what was coming or what was going on. And he always used to say that they were always fighting people just like him. Just like him. And I just watched a 100-year-old veteran that was in D-Day on TV, and he said that he was in a boat for D-Day, and he dropped off the captain to a naval base, an army base somewhere, and came back, and he had just sat down to have sardines on toast, and then he was told to go and get the captain, and then at that point, ready the boat, let's get going. We need to go. Where are we going? Doesn't matter where we're going, we're going. He had no idea what he was going into. And he lost a lot of good people. He lost a lot of friends, and you could see that it had a real influence on him. And to some degree, I'm grateful that my granddad was given leave. I mean, if he was going to drive around the brass and they weren't going anywhere, fair enough. But if they'd have taken up his offer to stay and help, he may have ended up in D-Day, and he may not have been with us, and he may not have been the happy fellow that he was. But at the end of the war, he was told that he could have a medal for fighting. Anyone that was in the army was told, hey, you could have this medal. And he refused. He said, I don't want it. He said if the only way he would accept a medal for being in the war was if his wife got one, and the wives of all of the servicemen got one, and all the people that stayed behind. Because as far as he was concerned, everybody suffered. Everybody sacrificed. Everybody had been part of the effort to do something. And even though some people may have done more than others, and some people had sacrificed more than others, he believed that everybody should have been given a medal too. And so if his wife wasn't getting one, neither was he. And he never did. He could have applied for it. He didn't. He didn't want it. He refused outright. Said, no, I don't want it. He was a good man. And there was a lot of good men that went and came back completely different. And still the same today. And my granddad was an inspiration to me. And I feel grateful that that's what I had. I feel grateful that he didn't go. And I just thought I'd share that with you. While everyone goes around and you've got all the corporate stuff going on, I just thought I would say thank you to everyone that left. Thank you for everyone that fought. Thank you for everything that everyone did. But I'm also very grateful for those that came back and then were inspirations to their children going forwards. Because you're seen. And even though you don't talk about it, we know that there was a dark place. And many of you went to a dark place. And some of you didn't survive that either, even afterwards. But I just wanted to say that many of you are more inspirations to your children, your friends and your family around you than what you maybe think you are. And if you need help, go and seek help. But just from me, for whatever it means, thank you guys for everything you've done. Guys, gals, for everybody that did everything. Thank you.